Hi guys, this is John with Apollo Sprayers. Today we're going to talk about replacing your old valve stem bushing with the new one that we have. So the old one is much smaller than the newer one, and it's very easy to replace, so let's go through and walk through it right now. Okay, so to do this operation is real easy. You're going to need the wrench, you're going to need the valve bushing tool, and the new valve bushing. The first thing we're going to do is remove the OS control. So we'll take the wrench and the Mark 16 and we'll remove the OS control from the gun. That will then give us access to the material adjustment bushing. So first we need to remove the screw and the spring, and then we can pull the needle out. And now we can use the wrench again with number 16 to loosen off the flow screw bushing. And then once we remove that, we can pull the bushing out, we can pull the spring out, and then pull the trigger, and we can slide the whole valve stem out. So now that we've got all the back of the gun open, we can get to the front, and we're going to push out the seal, which in your gun you won't be able to see, but I'm using my cutaway here so that you can actually see down inside here, and you'll be able to see inside here. What we're going to do is we're going to use the needle, we're going to push the trigger all the way forward, and we're going to use the needle to just on the edge of the bushing. And we're going to pop the bushing back into the gun. So do that really carefully, and if you're careful not to damage the needle. But if you just push it on there, after you rotate it around a couple times, you'll be able to pop the bushing out. Okay? So that's how you get the bushing out. Now to reinsert the new bushing is really easy. You just take your valve bushing tool, insert that over the end, and then insert the whole bushing tool into here, into the gun, and then push on it real tight. Now you want this to click into place, and it will sometimes on some of the newer guns you have to use some force on it. There we go. And you'll hear it snap into place, and when it snaps into place you'll see it protruding through the casting just a little bit like this. And you want it to protrude through the casting. The old one was flush with the casting, so it should not be flush. It should always protrude through there. So once it's protruding through, you know it's seated properly. You can then reassemble the spray gun. So we're going to start by putting the valve stem back in. Now initially when you push the valve stem in, it's pretty hard to push it back through the new seal. So either use that with my thumb, or sometimes if it's really hard, you can use the wrench to push on it. But once you get it pushed in, as you can see, it slides right through the seal with no problem, and then it goes back and forth real easy. So then we're just going to reinsert the spring and the bushing. And then you can tighten that up with the wrench again, and make sure you don't super over tighten it. It only needs to be snug. And then you can reinsert your needle. And then finally your spring and your flow screw. And when I'm just storing the gun, I just leave it a couple threads on so that I don't put the tension on the spring. And then finally you can reinsert your OS control. And again, that doesn't need to be super tight, you just need to snug it down. And that concludes how to replace the air valve bushing with the new one.